Welcome to Biopilates Deep Dive. Today, I guide you through the twist, a lateral bend combined with a pelvic lift, to explore a key trio: the stretch reflex, motor learning through repetition, and the muscle pair adductor magnus gracilis. My goal: precise, fluid, and safe execution. I set myself up, sitting on one hip, facing sideways. My pelvis is neutral, my spine too. My knees are bent, the top leg in lateral rotation, foot flat on the mat slightly in front of the sit bones, the bottom leg resting on the floor, supporting the top foot. My trunk is supported by the bottom hand, aligned with the hip, arm extended. The top arm lengthens and rests on the knee, palm facing up. I pause to feel my anchors, hand, 2 feet, and the base hip. I organize my breath, lateral thoracic inhalation, active exhalation to engage the deep core. Why take this time to settle? Because the stretch reflex, also called the myotatic reflex, is already at play. At each rapid stretch, the muscle spindles inform the spinal cord and trigger a calibrated contraction. I don't fight this reflex, I educate it. By moving slowly, I give it a more refined map of my ranges. I improve baseline tone and local stability. This is the basis of motor learning. Repeat without becoming robotic. Repeat to clarify. I begin the sequence. Inhale, I stabilize the supporting scapula, lift through the pelvic floor, raise the pelvis toward the ceiling. My trunk bends laterally. I gently extend the knees and zip the inner thighs together, sculpting an arc between head and feet. The free arm reaches up toward the ceiling. My gaze stays forward to hold the axis. Exhale, the free arm lowers diagonally toward the mat across the front of me. The trunk rotates to face the floor as I gently round the lumbar region toward the ceiling, a controlled flexion that protects the facet joints. My contralateral obliques awaken. The pelvis stays lifted, carried by hip extension and abdominal co-contraction. I resist the urge to let the pelvis rotate with the thorax. I differentiate. Inhale, the free arm rises again toward the ceiling. I return to side facing. Exhale, I press into the supporting hand, open my sternum toward the sky, slight upper trunk rotation to face the ceiling without letting the pelvis follow. The free arm moves into horizontal abduction, wide like 2 wings balancing. Inhale, I place the free arm overhead, return to the side-facing position. Exhale, I bend the knees and lower the pelvis back to the mat, resting the arm on the knee. I repeat 3 to 5 times, refining attention each cycle. On a muscular level, the dialogue is precise. The obliques organize thoracic rotation. The rectus abdominis participates when I flex toward the mat, concentric on the descent, eccentric on the return. The hip extensors support the lift and the isometry of the pelvis in suspension, and the discrete duo, adductor magnus and gracilis, stabilize the midline of the thighs. They prevent uncontrolled opening, guide gentle adduction, and through their pull anchor the pelvis onto the femurs. The gracilis, biarticular and slender, fine-tunes knee control when flexed. The adductor magnus, massive and deep, secures the hip and limits translation. I think stability first. The supporting scapula suctions to the rib cage. The shoulder does not collapse. The neck stays long. Cervical flexion relative to the thoracic to avoid compression. My rib cage neither over-rotates nor pops. The balance is subtle. Little at the neck, much at the lower thorax, just enough at the pelvis to differentiate without losing neutrality. Breath. I inhale to expand laterally. I exhale to dose the effort. Exhalation increases intra-abdominal pressure, supports the lumbar spine, protects the sacroiliac joints. On the lift, I imagine widening the 2 hemispheres of my body. On the rotation toward the mat, I exhale slowly to decelerate the thorax while keeping the pelvis calm. On the rotation toward the ceiling, I let the breath be elastic, not explosive. My self-correction cues: Activate glutes, hamstrings, and abdominals to prevent anterior tilt of the pelvis and hip collapse. Avoid sinking into the supporting shoulder, hand presses, back absorbs. Keep the neck aligned, gaze steady, never in extreme rotation. Allow the pelvis to rotate just enough to face the mat when the thorax goes there. Then resist when the thorax rotates back toward the ceiling. This is the fine art of dissociation. Maintain core engagement to prevent ribcage flare during lateral flexion. I scale difficulty through foot position. Closer to the body demands greater lateral flexion, further away, less. I choose the option that keeps me precise rather than showy. In Pilates, virtuosity is quality, not amplitude. How does the learning settle here? Through conscious repetition. With each cycle, my spindles measure, my nervous system adjusts. I become quicker to recruit the right muscles, more economical in effort, steadier in the unexpected. Motor memory deepens. The myotatic reflex stops being a brake or a jerk. It becomes a trained partner, part of my strategy. I don't chase fatigue, I chase clarity. Focus on adductor, magnus, and gracilis. Before lifting the pelvis, I zip the inner thighs. I sense a line from pubic arch to inner femurs. During suspension, I imagine these muscles pinching a sheet of paper between my thighs without crushing the knee. On the way back, they work eccentrically, like hydraulic brakes that guide rather than block. This intelligence protects the knees and frees the hip for nuanced rotations. If I feel lumbar sensitivity, I reduce amplitude, emphasize length over reach, and place a towel under the waist to sense elongation. If the shoulder complains, I bring the feet closer, lessen the load in lateral flexion, and lower earlier. If the top hip pulls, I check that external rotation stays moderate and that I don't pinch the groin. I think femoral head turning inside a welcoming socket. I can add a progression. At the end of the rotation toward the ceiling, I hold 2 calm breaths in isometry, seeking posterior rib expansion. Then I lower gently, as if laying down a suspension bridge cable by cable. 3 quality reps are better than 5 approximate ones. This twist is a school of differentiation. Pelvis, thorax, head, each has relative freedom. It is also a school of union. Adductors and gracilis converse with the obliques, the supporting hand with the rib cage. Breath connects it all. When this orchestration settles, the movement becomes silent. Effort disappears, only axis remains. I finish with a final mindful cycle. I inhale, lengthen, exhale, rotate toward the mat without yielding the pelvis. Inhale, return side facing. Exhale, open toward the ceiling, sternum clear, pelvis stable. Inhale overhead and exhale to lower down. I sit, release the hand support, let my breath tell me if I respected my margins. Then I switch sides because the body learns in mirrored experiences. What I retain, the stretch reflex is not an obstacle, it's a partner. Repetition is not routine, it's neuromuscular writing. The adductor, magnus, and gracilis are not just thigh closers, they are trajectory guardians that make the twist clean and the hip available. The clearer their role, the more readable, efficient, and unexpectedly calming my twist becomes. If you teach, transmit this simple idea: less noise, more signal. Slow down to hear adjustments, breathe to stabilize. Let the adductors seal the midline while the thorax tells the rotation story. 3 to 5 repetitions per side with steady tempo are enough to build solid memory. I'll leave you with one image. Between head and feet, you draw an arc. The adductors are the bowstring, the breath is the arrow, the center the hand that aims. Don't try to pierce the target with force. Align, breathe, repeat. The body will do the rest. See you tomorrow for another deep dive.